I'm thinking about the things that Mercy is experiencing now that are going to impact her life. Like in 20 years, she's going to say to mommy, you remember that one time where, what was his name? Chet, where Chet did this. And it was like, I'll never forget that. That was so amazing, right? What can you think of for you, whether it's your dad, your uncle, or anyone else in your life, a specific thing that for you impacted you so greatly, that you look back and you go, I will never forget that moment. I will never forget that what they said. I will never forget that situation. Is there any, would you share something like that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like, I did not know, like, by the way, like, I don't know why I'm so teary. It's not even allergies. It's just like, I just have a lot of emotions today, I guess. But like, and I'm just like, wow, this is great. Like, this is great. This is amazing. But so I like talked about my friends, and the other two people that I want to honor is so when I found out that I was pregnant, it was actually December 6th. I found out with my best friend, who is Mercy's godmother. She's amazing. She at the time was like 19. So she's 6 years younger than me, or 5 years younger than me. So she's 25 right now. So she's Mercy's godmother. So remember my spiritual parents that I told you about, kind of like the phone conversation. Their name is Lisa and Kevin. Okay. But before that, so Brianna is their daughter. Brianna is their fourth daughter. She's Mercy's godmother. So what happened was Brianna and I found out that I was pregnant. No, sorry. Before that, we had a date with her dad. Like lunch date, like regular lunch date, big deal. Talked about, I don't even know what we talked about, to be honest. And then when we went our merry way, found out that I was pregnant. And then when I found out that I was pregnant, I went to college called University of Northwestern. My professor, my advisor, her name was Terry Talley. So I got close to her. And then her husband's name was Kirk Talley. He was a football coach. And so I call him Papa Talley. So my group of friends of mine and I would call him Papa Talley. Like, I love him so much. He's a 1 on the Enneagram. I love him so very much. So then I go, I need to tell you something. So when I found out, the first person that I'm telling that I'm pregnant to is quote unquote my spiritual dad. Wow. And I go, I need to talk to you. I need to come to your office. And he's like, okay, sure. And then he just like holds me and cries over the fact that like I'm bringing a new life, and he's excited, but he's also like sad about the situation. And then I get to experience that moment. And then I just like walk away, right? Like, it was great, like whatever. And then, so then my spiritual mom, Lisa, so this is Carrie and Kirk, that's a whole other story. And I'm like, hey, it's my story to tell Mrs. Talley. I'm going to tell her. He's like, great. So then Mama Lisa, I sit down and tell her, because it's a Friday or whatever it was, like before Christmas. And I was like, hey, I just have some news to tell you. And I usually, like when I have hard news, I share via email. I shared my news with my dad about my pregnancy via email. That did not turn really well. We'll talk about that too. So then I go, oh, I'm going to share this news to you. And then will you communicate this to Papa Kevin? And she's like, who do you think I am, your messenger? Like, I'm sure that's what she was thinking, but she didn't say anything. So she just lives her little, whatever, like just life. She just, I don't even think she like agreed with me. I just don't remember all of that. So then it's a Sunday, we're at church. And then she goes, we need to go to a room. And then I think she's an 8, but it doesn't matter what she is, because she doesn't want me to label her. She just walks into a room and she goes, Kevin, Beza has some news to share with you. I'm like, no, I don't. You have some news to share with him. Like, I'm not about to share this at a freaking church. Are you freaking crazy? Like, I'm so livid. I'm so angry. Like, it's not even funny. I'm like, I'm not sharing any news with him. You are. She's like, no, I'm not, because it's your news. You are. So then I just like do my, just the Beza. I don't even know what it is. And then I share with him. I've said this, if I have 10 recording moments that God is like, I will replay this moment for you in heaven. Like, we can rewatch it and relive it. This is one of them. And so then I like tell him, and then I just bawl, and he just cries and just holds me and just cries. And then like, so I think of like not sharing my dad in person has robbed me of that joy of like not being able to tell him, because it's just like, yeah, I wasn't like, oh, I'm pregnant, I'm sending you an email. It was more so like, I'm pregnant, I'm ashamed, and I don't know how to deal with this. I'm doing that. But then like, he didn't really respond well. I didn't really respond well. So we didn't have a relationship. my whole pregnancy, like it would be like a dread to call him. And because I call my dad like at least once a week, more than that, and like talk to him about random things, right? And so then after I had Mercy and after like my hormones got whatever, and I was like, this is dumb. I lost a relationship with the most important person in my life because I got pregnant. This is stupid. So then I sent my dad a really long email of like, you didn't show up for me like this. This is not okay. This is not who you are. We can't have this relationship. How do we fix this? You need to have a relationship with me. Like, it was just like so blunt. And then I was like, I'm coming. And then my dad was like, over my dead body, you're not coming. Like, my dad doesn't put his foot down on a lot of things. He puts his foot down on a few things. And in hindsight, now I look back, I was like, you need to meet her. You need to love her. Once you meet her, you're going to accept her. He's like, it's not healthy for a 3-month-old to travel to another country. You're not coming. And it's like the moment that they met, they fell in love. And my daughter met my dad when she was 2.5 years old. And it's just like right now, he's a huge part of her life. She's a huge part of his life. And it didn't need like this huge accepting, but I was robbed of that 9 months of like, it was like when people are like, it's a wilderness season that I'm in with the Lord. No, it was freaking hell. Like, I did not have postpartum depression. I had prenatal depression because I wasn't able to relate with God because I literally reflected how my dad felt about the situation. That's how God felt about me. Versus I should have capped on and cashed in. Oh, whoa, like my spiritual fathers, these two men just showed compassion and they're so excited. They're sad. That wasn't God's design. Like, God's design is not for us to be single parents. It's not. However, if we are, he's going to give us grace. He's going to give us a way. He's going to give us all of that, right? So then I could have cashed into that. In that, I didn't. Like, I was just like a mopey, like, and in that, I lived, no, I'm serious. In that, one more dad stories, and then I'm going to wrap this up. I lived with Kari Brookins. So her mom was a mentor of mine. And then I called her dad Papa Tony. So I wasn't really like, he's just a 9 on the Enneagram. So he's like, is there anything that we could do with Mercy's birth? Father, I'm willing to like counsel you. Like, I'm willing to make this work for both of you. I want Mercy to have a dad. I lived with her for 6 months. I was a horrible housemate to live with. Like, I still did like, the reason she had me live there was because her husband was going to college, nursing. He's a nurse anesthesiologist. So she had 2 little kids, and my job was to help her out. I showed up for those shifts when she said, you need to watch my 2 boys. But besides that, I did not have any emotional capacity to relate with her. So now, actually, a couple of weeks ago, we got together and we were like, they're like, oh, we understand. You are the worst version of yourself. Because now they love me, and she's a 7. So like, we're both healthy, right? So like, we can relate and we love each other. Her husband is a 1. And I love 1s. I actually want to marry 1 on the Enneagram. So if anybody's single on the Enneagram and he's a 1, like, holla at your girl. I'm joking.
Hey, we'll keep it out. We'll keep our ear to the ground. You know what I'm saying? Keep our ear to the ground. You know what I'm saying?
I'll be like, zip codes. These are my zip code requirements.
Hey, go just send us the list. Send us the list. You know what I'm saying? So we can start looking.
Send the list. Thank you. But you know what I mean? I feel like I need to, like, just because I'm not like a weepy, mopey person, but it's real talk and it's real life. And yeah, this is how these spiritual men who are grandpas to my daughter continue to impact us. And Grandpa Tally lives in Florida, but he's Grandpa Tally. And Papa Kevin is Papa for Mercy, and he's her grandpa. And my dad is obviously her grandpa. And my stepdad is great. I love my stepdad very much. I feel like I didn't talk about him a lot on this. I think out of honor for my dad, we just knew, I just didn't know. I'm like, you're my like, he's great. We have a great relationship. Mercy loves him very much. He takes care of Mercy. He picks her up from school. He's a healthy, great human. I love that he's my sibling. My siblings just turned 18 yesterday. We get along very well. We like, I love my stepdad very much. It's just that I didn't get to live with them that long. And then I've just found all these other people to have invested in me these many years. But if I called my stepdad right now and said, I need help or I need advice, he would drop whatever he's doing and he would show up for me. Like, I have no doubt. Does that make sense?
That makes so much sense. And you actually answered my next question already, really, which is, I was thinking, you know, Robert and I know personally that healthy relationships the healthiest of relationships all have tension.
That's right.
They have, babe, you always say about the whole laundry example that you give, which I love,
Yeah,
agitation.
I like that.
We're always looking for relationships where it's always smooth and everyone's always happy and there's no arguments. But I always use the analogy, if you put dirty clothes in a washing machine, excuse me, you could have soap and water and have the clothes in there, but those clothes aren't going to come clean until there's agitation. There needs to be discomfort. True. There needs to be agitation to actually get the clothes clean. And laundry is something that we're always doing, right? We're always washing clothes. We're always cleaning our clothes. And relationships are often the same way. There is consistent discomfort and agitation and tension in relationships. Yeah. But it's that discomfort and tension and agitation that actually helps our relationships get better and better. And I always say, our relationships smell better when we're able to work through the tension, and the agitation. That's and right. At the end of it, we go, not only do we feel like, wow, we've been able to be honest, but now we've gotten closer because we've actually worked out some things that were barriers to the closeness. These things were barriers to understanding each other and being able to connect in a way that's deeper than just, oh, that's my friend. But when you're able to go deep in these relationships, and there's a level of intimacy, even in our friendships, that is healthy.
Come on.
And that helps us to actually really understand why that person's in our life, why God has connected us to this person or these people, because now we know who each other is on a deeper level. I always, I'm a Genesis nerd, so I always think about, God created us to have relationship with Him, to have relationship with each other, and to also have relationship with the world, to actually care for this world.
Come on, that's so good.
So in that relationship with one another, if we're reflecting the image of God, there's a depth to that. There's a depth to that relationship. And when we're building these relationships, we can't shy away from the tension and the agitation and the discomfort, because those are the things that help to make us strong in our relationships and build. And so that is so amazing that what you thought about as far as the impact is this point in your life where there was so much tension.
Yeah.
But on both sides of that tension, there was something that you go, man, I wish I could have cashed in on that. But at the same time, here's what's beautiful that came out of it, because it was a very tense moment. It was a very uncomfortable season. That's actually amazing.
Yeah.
That's huge.
I love that came from you so naturally to share about the tension and the discomfort. I love that even as you reflected upon it now, when you were looking back at remembering that these men, I love, of course, it's the four in me, of course, just loves the fact that the people that you shared it with embraced you and accepted you. I feel like that is truly what we need, the healthy relationships. When we bring our mistakes to the people that we love the most, to the people that we trust the most, when we bring our bad decisions to them, I feel like that is more of what we need in our communities with people, that when we bring our bad decisions to them, that we can be accepted in that bad decision, we can be embraced, we can be held, because that again is the true reflection of our Heavenly Father towards us. When we come to our Heavenly Father, that's what He does with us. When we come and we say, oh my God, God, yes, I went ahead and I had yes, I went ahead and I'm pregnant now. Yes, I went ahead and I did the drugs. Yes, fill in the blank with whatever it is that you did and you take before the Father.
Sure.
Unfortunately, so many of us do, because of either family history or because of, whatever. There's a whole different variety of reasons why we have the perspective of God that we do in our lives. But we do understand, as we continue to grow in our relationship with God, because it doesn't happen overnight. These are truths that are developed slow. Transformation is a slow process over time. But as we continue to transform and grow up, and we grow in these relations and our relationship with God, we really do start to understand that our Heavenly Father really is just actually waiting for us to come, not because He has no interest in putting any space between us and him.
Yeah.
His only interest ever is to pursue. And you said that actually of your biological father earlier. You said that you wanted him to pursue you, that he constantly pursued your heart. And that is the image that I pray that so many of us can eventually land on and get to the place where we recognize that our Heavenly Father is not interested in this. He's only interested in constant pursuit, in constant literally bringing us in. So even when it comes to those mistakes, he's only interested in saying, okay, great. Now where do we go from here? Like, that's literally, like, that's how I see my Heavenly Father. It doesn't mean that I don't feel embarrassed. It doesn't mean I don't feel shame. It doesn't mean I don't feel bad or, I can't, why did I do that? Like, yeah, I have those feelings too. But then I can honestly say shortly after, my next response is, okay, Papa, where do we go from here? Yeah. Because this is obviously not where I want. This isn't where he wants me to stay. Yeah. So where do we go from here? And even as you were telling us your story with, the long email you sent to your dad, that's what you were saying. You're like, listen, it is what it is. Like, this happened. It's real. I'm pregnant, but this broken relationship, this ain't gonna work. So where do we go from here? Yeah. I feel like what Robert was saying about agitation and the tension, I know that we speak about this often, which is Robert and I do work really hard on our relationship. It is not peachy. It is not always roses. I mean, I'm a 4 and I'm an 8. Come on, people. Like, if you know anything about the Enneagram, this right here is tough, okay? It's just not roses every day.
It's a miracle. No, it is a miracle. It is a miracle. Let's just say it is a miracle.
It's true.
Most marriages are miracles, but this is like extra miracle. Like extra. And like, you're happy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you were just telling me on our continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to like interrupt that. Continue. Extra miracle.
The reason, sometimes the reason that we're able to talk about the agitation is because we live in sometimes constant agitation, because, we are wired the way that we're wired. And so we have to put in that hard work. And so sometimes when people come to us and they'll ask us for like advice or whatever, or they, we would do marriage coaching and stuff like that. And they'll ask us like, hey, our marriage coaches and stuff. We're like, we're really honest with them, and we're very like blunt, and we tell them, listen, we'll consider. First, we have to look at our capacity. Can we actually take another couple in or whatever, right? Do we actually have the time to invest? Because we're not going to cheat you. Right. And then after we look at the capacity, the next question is, we ask the couple is, are you going to be willing to do the work? Yeah. Because if you're not,
that's right.
The work. Yep. We're only coaches, baby. Like, I can only be on the sideline. I can coach you. I can train you.
I'm not playing your game. You got to play the game. Real,
that's right. Yes.
I can't be on the field, and I can't run the play for you. So when I tell you what to do, you better show up. And I feel like what I'm listening to you is, I love that you realize and you recognize, like, you got to do the work, and you pursued that relationship with your dad, and you weren't willing to just let it fall off and be like, oh, well, see, my dad, he didn't want nothing with me. And we hear that again, that's normal. That's what society would even, some people in society would even be like, oh, you had every right, girl. See, your father just, oh, well, like, no, you decided that's not going to be my narrative. Yeah. And you took control of that situation.
Amen. So good.
I know that it was love that caused you to do that you were like, no, this is one of the most important relationships in my life. I'm not going to sit here and just let that fall off. No, if that means I have to, and I'm going to say this carefully, because sometimes, especially I'll say as the 4 in me, especially a 4th female, sometimes I know even in my relationship with Robert, I have been tempted to be like, see, he ain't pursuing me. Oh, well. Right. Oh, well. See, that's his job. He's the man. He needs to take me out on a date. Nope, he should have planned it. Nope. Oh, well. It's his loss. I know what I am. I know who I am. Yeah. His law. I've done that, and it doesn't work. No. And then I've also done it where I'm like, we did it last night. I was just like, oh, hey, by the way, our son is babysitting. Our older one is going to babysit the younger one. Let's go. We're going on a date. Right. And he was like, oh, we going on a date? I was like, yeah, let's go. Because I need that time with him. And sometimes if I sit around here and I wait, if I just wait, listen, at the end of the day, if I'm questioning whether or not this man loves me after 18 years and all the stuff we've been through, that's a me problem. Because I ought not be questioning that after 18 years, after all I've been through. So 4 wants to romanticize the mess out of everything. And I want to have this romantic, fluffy idea in my head of what our date night should look like. And he should have came to the door with roses and he should have sprayed her. Like, this is the romanticized thing that 4s do, right? Like, oh, he didn't, like, it wasn't Now, does he do that? Yes. Is it like that every time? Nope. Is it sometimes me actually pursuing him and saying, yo, let's go. Down the road, Cracker Barrel it is, I guess, whatever. I don't care, but we got to do something because I need some time. So I love that you knew that even as the daughter in the relationship, as the, quote unquote, like, oh, well, that's my dad and he's the older and he's the authority one and he should have fixed this and he should have been pursuing me. And we can do that. We can put these, we try to, basically what we're doing is we're playing the victim. And we want to, like you said, we want to do the woe is me and blame everybody else. But what are we doing to make the relationships in our lives healthier? What are we doing? Are we taking responsibility? And I'm not saying, I say it carefully because I'm not suggesting by any means that, that I should always be pursuing him. And I'm not suggesting by any means that the children in the relationship should always be pursuing the parent or the, older figure in their life. But sometimes it will happen. And I love that, it is okay to kind of step outside of those narratives that society or culture or whatever will tell you that, oh, well, it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. Leticia, you shouldn't have to take your husband out on a date. Leticia, whatever that is. So that's why I say it carefully, because I'm not saying it should be our normal, but it also, we have to just be careful to just not fall into those narratives that society sometimes tries to play on us, or our own wiring and the romanticized ideas that we have about what our healthy relationships should look like, because it's too easy to fall into the narrative of, oh, this relationship, it's
I think it goes back to that. We have to remember that a relationship is just that, a relationship, right? And a relationship is never one-sided. It's never one-sided. It's never one side having the brunt of the responsibility for the relationship. People always make we have the saying that relationships are 50-50, and we always say, no, they're actually not. They're 100.
It's 100. Come on. That's right. That's so right. Yep.
Someone's with half, that relationship is going to either fail or have a lot of problems. But if both people are bringing 100%, that 100% may not always be perfect. That 100% may not always, but the effort is 100%, even though the specifics and the details may not always be great. You will always be better with 100% effort from both sides, and some missteps and some bad decisions, and maybe said something I didn't, or not say something I didn't, but say something I shouldn't have, and in the heat of emotion, whatever. If the effort is 100% on both sides, we just believe you'll always be able to find that space where you can come together. And so I think that just keeping that in mind is so helpful. That's what a relationship is. It's both sides continually making tweaks, adjustments, all those things to continue to have a healthy relationship.
So Beza,
sorry.
Yeah, go.
Yes, please.
Okay, I want to share 2 things with our conversation that you were mentioning, especially when you were talking about Leticia, when you were talking about the father heart. I just feel like Luke 15 is like, just because I don't think every one of your listeners are Christian believers. Right. So we need to like pause for a second and say, and but because I have this opportunity, I want to say this. So you could re-edit it if you don't want it in here. But like, I just feel like Luke 15 is like the prodigal son coming home, and the dad just like seeing him from far, like being like, oh my gosh, like my son who left is on the way. Like we're throwing the biggest party.
Right.
And I think sometimes as Christians, we could be the older brother, and it's like, I've been faithful. I've been laboring here, and you're going to throw and waste and squander the biggest party? What do you mean? Right. And it's like, I think like we need to get, as Christians, number one, we need to celebrate that father's heart, that he found one of his sons coming back, and him throwing a party is not going to make his economy level go down. Like, this is a party. Like, he is like, it's in his budget. He knows what he's doing. So it's like, I think like as Christians, we need to have that attitude of like other prodigals coming in to the Lord or to the Father, and having that relationship and just being so excited about that. And as a single mom as a single parent I don't even like using the word single mom, as a single parent who's been a mom for the last 5 years, I don't know if I could do mothering without Jesus. I truly don't. And obviously Jesus is faithful when I'm faithless. Like, I also know that. So I'm not like saying I show up 100% to my relationship with Jesus. If that was the case, praise God, that would be great. I don't. He does though, right? So like, that's the beauty of it. And another thing that you asked, because not everyone on this podcast has Leticia, you and I have discussed about the beautiful friendship that you have with your dad as well, but not everyone has that, right? So it's like, you asked me the question, how can one honor their father and mother when, like, in the Bible, it says, parents, do not exasperate your children. Yes. It's like, I want to like be like, in being a mom, like, I want God to put my hands like over my mouth when I'm exasperating my overdriven daughter. She's already overdriven. I don't need to drive her anymore. She's a very driven child. Like, right. So she, like, I don't need to like correct every single thing that she does because she's already there. Right. Yeah. And so it's like, how do I nurture her? Like, the way you raise your 3 children is probably very different because they're very different people. Right. And it's like, not everyone has the way that we want to parent our children, like, to have that idea of that too. So I asked one of my mentors, kind of just like a funny text. I want to read that. Whoops, I will load hopefully. So I sent her a message, and I said, I wish when God wrote the comment about honoring father and mother, and I will be with you. It's like the first 10 commandments with a blessing, right? Yes. I will be with you, or I'll bless you. Added, if your parents are sane, helpful, and amazing.
Yes.
No, legit though. That was my text. That was my text to my mentor, Mary Jane.
That's
real.
And
then she is this 75-year-old. I need to like describe her. She's this 75-year-old, loves Jesus, will call you out. I'm pretty sure she's the one on the Enneagram. She doesn't care what she is. I don't blame her. She's perfect the way she is. She's amazing the way she is. And she sent me a message. And I'm going to read it. You can honor and should honor your mother and father. It is a command from God. That doesn't mean you can't put up healthy boundaries around your relationship. God doesn't only love us when we're sane, helpful, and amazing. He loves us all the time, unconditionally. We should also strive to be more like him every day. That means loving like he does. In my opinion, you can do that by being respectful, never yelling or calling names or being angry, and not being disrespectful when you talk about that person, when you talk about your mother or father to others, especially around your children. But you can put healthy boundaries around your relationship. You don't have to be there for long periods of time. You don't have to let your daughter be there for long periods of time. You don't have to depend on help, advice, or encouragement. Don't depend on it. Don't expect it. It will be easier when you don't live so near. Calmly and respectfully, just distance yourself, and never, this is my favorite part, and never talk badly about that your mother or father to others. That's how you honor your mother and father.
That's good.
That is so good. I mean, she's deep. So she just didn't like flip out, and like she was like, and then I asked her, I was like, and then my response was like, thank you so very much. Legit response. These are helpful tips. I honor them, I respect them, and I believe that God will give me the grace to walk them out. And she said, I'll pray for you that you do. And I said, thank you, and I love you. And she was mentioning, after she sent that text to me, so in my life, Mary Jane and her husband are Oma and Opa, because she's been mentoring me. So what happened was my mentor, Lisa, went to another country. And then I reached out to their church, and I was like, well, do you have another person that can mentor me? Because I'm in crisis, I'm pregnant. And then Mary Jane was like, well, we have a pregnancy thing in our church. I'm 69. You're a little bit younger than me, and maybe you want a younger mom. but I just want to mentor you. And I was like, sure, whatever, that's fine. I just want to talk to somebody and tell them how miserable my life is anyway. So you or anyone would work. Like at this point, no, it's true though. That's why I reached out. That's why I reached out. That's why I reached out. And like, and so they're Oma and Opa and Mercy's life, and I have a lot of respect for them in a lot of ways. And that's like honoring your parents for us who have healthy parents can be great. Sometimes when our parents are unhealthy, it's not like God goes, but for you, this commandment does not apply. Like he still means it. And I just love how she called me out and how she encouraged me. I'm not saying I'm living that out right now, because sometimes with different parents, you might have tensions. But for those who have tensions, like I want to like read that as an encouragement for all of us, because there's hope, right? There's hope in, but reconciliation is a two-way thing. So like if the other person is not willing, you could still honor them by not talking crap about them, but you could like reconcile. I don't know, maybe you guys might have more things to say on that, but that's kind of like, I just wanted to put those two things in.
So good.
Yeah, we talk about this often. So funny you said that about reconciliation, because we talk about this often. Oftentimes we mix up forgiveness and honor with reconciliation. We think that forgiveness and honor requires reconciliation.
Right.
And so we remain prisoners of our own emotions, of our own again, we go back to victim, right? Well, because you know they need to know what they did, or they have to admit to their wrong or whatever. When God says, actually, no, you're supposed to be the one to forgive and honor. What they do is between them and God, but you've got to make sure that you and God are straight. And so I think that, as you were saying, like I can still, if someone's done something in my relationship, I can forgive them, I can honor them. And if they don't want to reconcile, that's okay. I can still do what I am supposed to and be obedient to God in that, so that my life is blessed. And they have to work out their thing for them. And so that definitely resonates, because I mean we've been in situations where you know it's hard sometimes when you feel like the other person in the relationship does not see their blind spot. And of course, we can always see everybody else's, we just can't see our own. That's for everybody, right? So, and when that happens, we're tempted to be like, well, I'm not going to, like you said, we feel justified and like, well, if they're not going to, then I'm not going to. But as you were saying, that's not honor, that's not biblical, and that's not what God wants us to do. And that's not being Jesus to that person. Whether they're a believer or not, it's not being Jesus to them, and that's the goal. That's the Great Commission, to be Jesus to that person. So, that's so good. That's really amazing.
The other thing that we forget is that I went through a season one time where I was having a hard time trying to decide if I needed to reconcile a relationship, and I remember I actually was a Catholic priest, because I went to this. It was an abbey, and I went to go take some days of silence just to like, I need to like shut in. I can't right now. So I went to this place, spent a couple days in silence, went to go hear this priest speak, and he made this statement. And it was like, when he made the statement, I wrote it in my journal, and my brain just went like, it literally exploded. I was like, oh my gosh, why has no one told me this? And he said, forgiveness is mandatory as Christians. We are commanded to forgive, right? He said, forgiveness is mandatory, but reconciliation is negotiable. And when I heard that, Beza, I was like, wait, what? Yeah. Wait, what's negotiable? Wait, hold on. I got a choice. Like, I've always, for me, up until that point in my walk with Christ, I always assumed that reconciliation, as Robert was saying, and forgiveness were together. They had to happen. Like if I forgave, I had to reconcile,
or vice versa.
Or if I reconciled, whatever. And I just felt like I felt like the Lord used that opportunity with that priest and just spoke. So in my heart was like, because my whole thing was I was stressing out over how in the world was I supposed to reconcile this relationship with this individual, because they're quite frankly crazy, and I don't want to reconcile with them. I know I have to forgive, and I do want to forgive. But I was struggling with this pressure, this idea that I was going to have to still be in a relationship with them. And I was like, oh, dear God, I can't do this. And so when that priest said that forgiveness is mandatory. Yes, we are commanded to forgive one another, but reconciliation is negotiable. I realized, wow, thank you, Father, for that truth, because I was holding myself prisoner to something that God was not even asking of me. God was saying, baby, I don't need you to reconcile with this person. However, for your own sake, you do need to forgive them to release yourself of the prison that you're holding yourself in. And I think that oftentimes we do sometimes get that message, those messages mixed up. And it is okay, you know, to not reconcile with I mean, listen, if that was the case, ain't nobody got time for that many relationships. I don't. Like, I just can't, I do not have, like, we're going to have people in our lives. We're going to have community. We're going to have healthy relationships, hopefully, with the tension, with the navigating all that stuff. We'll have all of that. But there will inevitably be some people in our lives that we will have to choose to just say, okay, this is an individual that 100% I will still honor them. I will still be able to, like you were saying, Beza, I will still be able to honor them. I love what your friend said, I can't remember her name, I apologize, but your mentor, in this text message that you read to us, I love that she even said, you know, maybe from a distance. I love that she had the wisdom to even acknowledge that, right? Like, yes, there may not be reconciliation. There may have to be space in order for you to honor. You may have to have that space in this relationship. And I love that healthy boundary is being placed there. And I think that that's something in our healthy relationships that we still have to navigate, that sometimes there may not actually be a relationship for it to be healthy. And it's hard for us, I think, especially as Christians, because we are commanded to love and we want to see ourselves as loving people. And so sometimes we'll go, oh, but we're not really loving if we're not in relationship. Well, sometimes in order to love people well, you actually may not be able to have like a high level relationship. You'll have maybe a civil, you'll have a, you know, kind of like an acquaintance type of relationship with this individual. But I know, especially me as a 4 Enneagram, I have to be careful with that, because 4s, if you're familiar with the Enneagram, anybody listening, we have a tendency to be able to be vulnerable pretty easily. And so I can be an oversharer if I'm not careful in protecting my heart, because by nature, my wiring is very open and very transparent. That's just my wiring. And so I have had to learn over the years, and I continue to learn, how much is too much and where's my boundary when I'm sharing with people. Because my problem, unlike my husband, who's the 8, and I know you can relate to this, Beza, he don't trust nobody. So you ain't getting nothing out of him. Like, he's a locked bolt. He's not just coming at you sharing like blah, blah, blah. Whereas I'm coming at you, and if you ask me a question or whatever, I have no problem being very free and saying like, oh yeah, and I'll just put it all out there. So I have to be very careful. I have to learn to bring it in and protect myself and protect my relationships in that way. But I love what you just said about what she was saying to you in that text message about, you know, sometimes the distance has to be put there. And I've had to learn that as well. Like, everybody doesn't have to be close, Leticia, because I would hold everybody. When I hold someone close, listen, they're like one of my best friends says, Leticia, the way you love people, like, you literally carry them in your bosom. That's how I love. So when I love, I'm like, okay, I'll hold you right. Like, you're all up in here, because I love people. The way I love is deep. And when I tell you I love you, this is covenant. Like, I am ride or die. This is how this is gonna go. So if you don't want ride or die, bye, because I ain't got time. That's just me. That's who I am. But because I know who I am, and that's how I'm wired, I also don't have a ton of people in my life that are that close, because I don't have time for that. Because when I love you deeply. I don't have that much time in the world to hold people up in my bosom like everybody. No, I can count them on one hand, literally, how many people Leticia holds in her bosom like that closely. Because I do not have the capacity, and I've had to learn that about myself. I don't have the capacity to love everybody on that level. I'm not God. However, I've also had to learn the opposite. When is it the time to just be like, oh yeah, no, I have to have really long, wide boundaries in some of my relationships because I am a loving person and people see that and they want to pull on that and pull on that. And I'm like,
that's true.
It's not that I don't love you. It's just that I know my capacity right now. And because I know how I'm wired and who I am, I won't cheat that relationship and start this whole new relationship and invest all that. I can't. I literally can't because I'm a daughter to God first. I get to have the privilege of being married to this amazing man. And then I get the privilege of raising 4 freaking beastly, amazing children. That's my priority. Anything after that, then we'll work it out. You know what I mean? But I love the wisdom coming from this beautiful soul about, you know, what honor can look like. And it's not always going to look like what we think, which is, oh, these super tight, close relationships that, no, sometimes honoring a person might actually kind of be that your relationship has some space in it so that you can honor well.
Come on.
So I love that.
Yep.
So Beza, we kind of have, I guess, in wrapping it up, let me ask you this, is there anything else that you'd like to share? Because I don't want to close the opportunity for you to share anything else before we ask you our final question.
Oh my gosh, final question. I'm like, I thought we covered it all. No, honestly, I feel I feel like I just like took a bunch of notes when you're talking because I feel like both of you together are dynamites when you speak. And I can't wait to listen to your podcast because I feel like even though you're interviewing someone, you also give your wisdom. So I am in a transitional time. I call my time in Ethiopia a sabbatical. And so I just feel like as an 8, I'm sure you can relate, like working for other humans could be hard. So I just want to seek the Lord and like see what he opens up just because like I have a strong wing of a 7 too. So it could be like I want to do many things. So like right now I can't even like promote myself and be like, follow me on this platform, like do this. I have this podcast. Like I wish I had all of that prepared. But honestly, like I just feel like the Lord is like, and it's very hard to be in the present for me, like, and just like being in the present because it's just like the future is so exciting. Like, why would someone want to live in the past? Like, if you have a mess, like just cry over about it and move on. Like, let's move on. Right. Obviously, but then I think in moving on, I'm not moving on with a lot of things in a healthy way because I have a relationship with one person and that person literally triggers my past relationship with the other person. And I'm like transferring crap from like 17 when I was 17 with this person and calling them a spiritual abuser when they're just truly setting boundaries with me and I'm just offended. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like, I need to work through my own.
Yeah.
I gotta work through my own shit, really. Yeah. And like, and I want Ethiopia to be that. So like, I don't really have anything. But if you're a podcaster, like, oh my gosh, who's this girl? Like, pray for me. Like, pray for me that God walks. No, I'm for real.
That's good. That's good.
I'm being very serious. Like, I want to be everything that Jesus died for. Like everything Jesus, when the Father is like, I'm gonna give my sin away and I'm gonna have a reconciliation with these people. I want everything. I want all of it. Like I don't want anything held back, right? So it's like I don't feel called to be a missionary. But I feel like, so whatever it is, like in my mothering and everything that I like, and everything that, so it's just like, but some of it is like dealing with my past, dealing with my unforgiveness issues, dealing with my disrespect, dealing with my anger. You get it. Like, I don't relate to sadness very much. I relate, but I had a counselor. This is one good thing that came out of that counselor. He would say, under the mad, there's the sad. And that's powerful.
That's
under the mad, there's the sad.
Yeah.
Under the mad, there's the sad. So for me, I can like be like, because it's easier. And it's like, and you said bosom, and I want to mention this really quickly because I do read the Bible from the Enneagram lens because I'm an Enneagram future expert. Okay, I'm just joking. But anyways, no, for real though, like I think John the Beloved, I believe he might be a 9 with a wing of an 8 or an 8 with a wing of a 9. And this is why. When he was younger, do you guys remember this? He asked Jesus, he said, John and James, they're brothers. They're like, are we going to sit in your right and left? And they actually had their mom ask him that. like how good for you, like that you have that kind of friendship with Jesus. I'm proud of you. And then John the Beloved was the one who was in Jesus' bosom. Like I can just literally picture John the Beloved being on Jesus' bosom and like Jesus playing with his curly hair and just like sharing his heart. I'm about to die. Like just all of that. And I just feel like that is a 9 personality of like, or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just leave the Enneagram out for a second. But I just feel like as an 8, I think health for me right now comes to leaning on my 9 wing and choosing to be a peacemaker, choosing to be gentle, sorry, I'm looking for something right now. That this specific mentor wrote me, and it was just like, she just wrote me a few verses, and in them was like gentleness, and in them was being like having the peace of God. And she gave me like it's in my room. She gave me an Elizabeth Elliot devotional. And it's like, I just want to sit with Jesus because he's great and he's worth it. And he wants to do great things because he loves me. Yeah. And so that's all I have. Like, so your people could pray for me for that. And may that Ethiopia becomes that, like it's a sabbatical. I don't need to create another business. I don't need to be your business counselor. I don't need to sell you anything. Like, I don't need to sell your soul. I don't need to sell you anything. I just need to like, and it's hard. Doing this is very hard.
Yeah.
Very, very hard. You get it. I mean, Robert, do you relate to that? Like of being
Absolutely.
like still
Absolutely.
and
actually, it's so funny you say that because the Gospel of John is actually my favorite gospel of the 4. And ironically, it is the gospel that is focused more on the person of Jesus than the chronology of Jesus, right? So Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they all focus, they have specific audiences. Matthew's writing to Jews. Mark is writing to a little bit of both. Luke is writing more so to, Gentiles and things like that. But they all are telling this chronological story of Jesus. When you get into John's the only one that jumps headlong right away into who is Jesus. He immediately, the rest of them, good. They kind of work their way into who Jesus was, and they're telling the story of Jesus. But John jumps right into who is Jesus. Listen, Jesus was there at the beginning of creation. It was through Jesus that the world was made. Like, he really jumps right in. And yes, some people think he was a little conceited because he refers to himself. It's the only place that John is referred to as the disciple that Jesus loved, or the beloved disciples, is in the Gospel of John, which people say, whoa, he just him. But he was that close. He was that close.
Yeah.
And he made sure, and I think I agree with you that he was probably like an 8 wing 9 or something like that, because you can see that he is unapologetic for how he portrays Jesus. He is unapologetic and like, no, you need to listen. This is the guy, right? This is the guy. But there is this undertone of peace and understanding in his gospel. And so I definitely relate with that. It's so good. And I was just telling Leticia, I'm realizing that I'm more of an 8 wing 9 than 7. I have a lot of 8, 7 tendencies, but I've been looking more at the 8, 9, and I'm going, man, like I'm seeing that more. But it's a beautiful thing to be able to see and then look at scripture and my relationship with God and go, man, I get it now. Like, this is why you've made me this way. Now I understand when I look at other things in my life and people I'm connected to,
it's good.
How that works. And so even in you talking about your sabbatical, I think that's such a beautiful thing. We all need those spaces, those moments to take back. And it's not that we're inactive, but we are taking time to say, okay, in this particular activity, I'm going to focus on, God, what is it that you want me to do next? How can I quiet myself with you and be in surrounding, even though I'm active, I am focused on this specific area. So that's amazing. I think that leads us to our last question for you.
It does, but I want to give you a resource to jot down as you're taking notes, Beza. I would write down emotionally healthy spirituality. And for any of our friends who are listening, it's emotionally healthy spirituality. So
it's a book by Pete Scazzero.
Yeah, it's actually Jerry Scazzero's his wife. Yeah. And Pete, they both have written books, but Jerry is Gerri. Scazzero, Scaz, Scazzero, Scazzero. They have a beautiful ministry out of New York City. And in Queens, New York, I've been to the conference a couple of times. Robert's come with me. But they have books, they have podcasts, they have curriculum they've written for small groups. It's an amazing ministry. But the whole ministry was birthed out of them as pastors. They were just going really hard and, you know, pastoring this church, whatever. And they finally, the wife just got burnt out and she literally stopped going to the church. Like she left her husband's church because she could not do it anymore. And so this whole ministry was birthed out of having to seek health, having to seek emotional health because they were being pastors and pastoring this church, but they were literally losing themselves in this ministry. And the wife just finally said, I quit. I can't even go to our own church anymore, and just stopped. And out of that, they started to have these beautiful sabbaticals and counseling and mental health and emotional health. And now they're totally different.
Wow, that's good.
But it's so good. Beautiful resource. So if anybody's listening, emotionallyhealthyspirituality.org is their website, and you can go to it and find a wealth of information.
Okay.
The last question we have for you to wrap it up is, last final question, Beza, is who is Beza Wheat becoming?
My word.
Or we'll make it a little bit easier by saying, who does Beza Wheat want to become?
Yeah, who does Beza Wheat want to become?
What does Beza Wheat see for?
That's so cool. Oh my gosh, I feel like a nerd talking about the Enneagram again. But remember how we talked about 8 wing of a 7? I think that, but the whole wing thing, their whole perspective is like you develop your other wing as you're on your other half of life, which I'm not prophesying that over myself because I want to live for the next I'm not halfway through my half of the life that God has for me. So I don't want to prophesy that. But even with John, why did Jesus choose him to write Revelation? Why? Let's just ask that. John, the author of John wrote the book of Revelation, right? It's like he showed him things. Yes. He gave him downloads. Those are like downloads of what things that are happening right now were written about and given John, beloved.
Right.
Pause there for a second. And so in that, I just want who's becoming Beza. I just want obviously, I want to steward my friendship and my relationship with Mercy, really well. That's so important to me. That is my identity, and that's something that God has given me, that I want to meet him and I want him to say, you have done a great job. You've been faithful to me in how you raised her with the resources that I've given you and with the help that you've asked, you've done it well. I want to have that kind of conversation, eye to eye with Jesus moment. So that matters to me. As far as other things right now, I'm just I don't know. As far as becoming, I'm just I just want to be more of a peaceful person, more of a gentle person. If you're asking me about the fruit of the spirit, I want to less is a real deadly sin of an 8, and less is a real sin of mine, or covetousness is a real sin of mine, that I want gratefulness. I want the joy of comparison, or the joy of covetousness is gratitude, being grateful for what I have, being grateful for who I am, being grateful for the journey that God has given me, and being confident that he's going to be in the journey. He who began a good work is so faithful to complete it within me. So it's it's not about me. He's so faithful, right? He's so faithful. And I feel so Christian-y right now because I want it to be relatable, but it's that's who I want to become. I want to look at Jesus and I say, it's worth following you because you're faithful. You're just worth it. I want to be so undone with love that nothing, all these shiny things that are so attractive, to become so minuscule to the worth and the relationship that I have with Jesus, that I want joyful holiness to mark me. I don't want to be holy begrudgingly and complaining because the world is having fun, but I want to be holy and I want to walk on the narrow road because he's there and this is what he has for me and it's the best thing. I don't want to be in the narrow road and be oh, I wish I was there. Like, I don't want that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. I really
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
So I want to become that. Like, so I guess, I don't know. I feel like I said it in like different ways, but it's ultimately like, I want to know why God made Beza now, not in 1600s, and live that out. Like, why wasn't I created in the 1600s? Why don't I live in Ethiopia? Like, all my why questions, there are a lot. And I want them to like I want the Lord to like bring me, give me like, not a solution, but like the solution is, I don't need to know all the answers. He's there and it's gonna be okay. But in being okay, I don't want to like try to still figure it out. Like, you know, like a baby when they're like trying to calm down on your arm, and you know when they're calm. I want to be like that calmed child on Jesus's hands, rather than like, I'm freaking out. I'm a toddler. I'm about to like rip your head off, because that's my reality. Like half the time, like let's just not make it great. But I want to transition into the gentle part of like, you're good and you got me. Like, you got me. You know. So that's who I want to become.
No, that's so good.
So a 9, pretty much.
So I'm going to transition. Yeah. That's so good.
Did you get the little joke that I did?
Yes,
yes, pretty much. Yeah.
I love that.
No, I think
peacemaker. That's who I
am. No, I think that is a beautiful ending, because I think if we're honest, we're all looking for some modicum of being at peace with contentment, being okay with content, understanding that content doesn't mean settle.
Right.
It doesn't mean settle, but it does mean that I can be grateful for where I am and hopeful for what's to come. You know, yeah, I think that's amazing, and so yeah, that's awesome.
I think we're absolutely all thinking that. I definitely just want to reiterate that.
Yeah.
I think all of us, it doesn't matter your Enneagram, it doesn't matter where you are in your life, whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you're divorced, whether you're widowed, whether you're a teenager, whether you're 85,
whether you had your father or mother in your life, parent, whatever, man, it doesn't matter. I think that
literally at the end of the day, we really are truly all seeking some form of contentment. We want to just be,
that's right.
I am grateful for where I am, period, in my life. And I think that's a beautiful place for all of us to just kind of end on this note of honoring healthy relationships. And I think the most important relationship, and I know we'll have a whole other podcast on this, is the most important relationship that you have to honor is the one with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's part of that whole contentment journey, is being content with, this is where I am now, and this is where I'm headed.
Yeah.
Taking the attention of the now and the destiny that you're going for, and the person you're becoming, navigating that tension of who you are now and who you are becoming is a very delicate dance that we have to do. And so thank you so much, Beza, for your transparency.
You're welcome.
For your joy, for your delight, for truly, thank you for sharing so openly. I don't take it lightly. I understand your wiring, and so I don't take it lightly that you've chosen to share with us. You could have said, absolutely not. I don't know you, strange woman, and why do you want to? You could have done that, and I would have respected it 100%. Be like, I get it. It's cool. So thank you so much for your time. I know we've gone longer than we expected.
And thank you for your time in the middle of the transition.
Yes.
Like, as an 8, I know,
that's
like
huge.
when we are like, we're like, this is what I got to do, and this is the time I have to do it, and don't mess with my time. For you to take that time and to say, you know what, no, I'm going to make time for this. And that challenge for us as 8s, once we're set, making time for other things that go outside of what we've already set is not, we don't like plans to change when they're already set. So thank you.
You're welcome. What does your shirt say? I need to know what your shirt says.
I was telling you earlier. Fatherhood is never out of style.
Fatherhood is never out of style.
Come on. Amen. Because not everybody's going to listen to, not everybody's going to have the ability to watch this.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Amen. And happy Father's Day when this airs to all the fathers out there.
Good.
For all the mothers, you're not a father. Like, don't ever, like, somebody's like told me once, they're like, I just want to say happy Father's Day to you. And I'm like, no, that is not my role. That is not my identity. My identity is being a mom. And right now I'm doing sometimes 2 roles, but seek out fathers in your community. And if you're a Christian, like, and if you're like, we just want pure religion, it's like pure religion is showing up for orphans. And right now the modern day orphans is doing single parenting alone. So find a single mom, find a single dad who's doing it alone and come alongside of them and show love, show up, right? Like, this is for Christian believers who are like, those who are not Christian believers, just let that go, you know? But for real, like, I am so, like, I loved being on here. Like, I'm gonna miss you guys. I'm like, I have to hang up. I have to go back to real life. Like, that's amazing.
No, that is so good. I'm so glad you said that. I didn't think about, you know what? That is such a good reminder. And I think that is a beautiful thing. Yeah. Like, mother, you're a mother. You are called to be a mother. That's what God made you. And you're right. Don't say happy Father's Day to a mom. Just appreciate that single mom even more. And just let her know, listen, and like you said, be willing to reach out and go, how can I help? What can I do? If you're a man out there, and you are, let's just qualify, you are stable, you are sane, and you have something that you know that, wow, I can invest in someone's life, then find other people who may have the gap to say, hey, how can I help be a example of Christ, of God in a godly way, to that person, to that family, to that child, to whoever, instead of just, like we said before, standing back and go, well, it's not my problem. No, that's not what God created us to do. And that's so good. I love that.
Yeah,
that
and
was
even
amazing.
If you're not a believer, because we talk about this a lot, even if you're not a believer, but you know you're stable, you're sane, you have some positive energy that you can bring into a relationship, like, bring it. Like, bring the board games, bring the football, bring the, the dress up dolls, bring whatever that you want to bring, I don't care, but like, look for opportunities to where you can invest your time while you maybe are single yourself and you're waiting to get married. Like, great, okay, well, what can you be doing while you're waiting? Like,
go to a Boys and Girls Club,
right? Like,
go to a Boys and Girls Club and become a mentor, or something, YMCA, whatever. Like, there's so many organizations and opportunities out there where we can actually invest in children, invest in this next generation, be a positive influence in lives. And we hear it all the time of people that we see who will say it was because of this person who wasn't blood related, who wasn't, I met them when I was 7 or 8 or whatever.
I mean, that's your story.
That's your story, right? and so we see it all the time, but we don't see it enough. Yeah. And so I love that. So thank you so very much.
Yes, thank you
for being with us. And guys, I hope
you're welcome. This is fine.
Yeah. I hope that everyone listening and or watching, I really hope and pray that you've taken something away from this. I hope and pray that you've taken some wisdom, that you've been encouraged. Maybe you cried a little bit too, but I really hope and pray that you've taken something that later on will resonate with you. That when you're in your relationships and when you're working through the tension, and when you're even if now you're looking back on your life and you lived a life where you said, I wish my father was in my life. I wish I had. I pray that you take away from this that it's not too late for you to engage relationships with people who can continue to invest. There are many fathers out there who don't have their own children. Maybe you're listening to this and saying, I want to know how I can actually be impactful as a man in someone's life. I hope that you're encouraged to take a step to find someone to invest in, to pass down what God has given you to them. And I hope that this has encouraged you. We are so thankful again to Ms. Basil Weed for taking the time, encouraging us, telling us her story, and having a real, encouraging, authentic, life-giving conversation with us. We're so thankful for that. So until next time, again, happy Father's Day, Mom. Yep, we'll say it that way. Happy Father's Day, Mom.
Okay.
Happy Father's Day, Mom. Yeah, that's right. And we will see you all next time. We love you. Peace.